everyone. Welcome to another episode of Making the Rounds. My name is Zach and I am your host, but I am joined today with two special guests, ex-coworkers and friends. Andrew, say hello.
I'm special?
Yes, you're special.
Wonderful.
Say hello.
Hi.
I love you. And Patrick.
Sup?
Tonight we'll be reviewing Logan, which is a movie that just recently came out and that we just all saw together. But before we get into the reviews, I want to let you guys know that this is a spoiler alert. Once you hear this, that means we'll be talking about to the beginning of the end of the film. This is the synopsis of Logan based on what I'm reading from Google. In the near future, a wary Logan cares for an ailing Professor X and head out on the Mexican border. But Logan's attempts to hide from the world and his legacy are upended when a young mutant arrives being pursued by dark forces. Alright, so that's the synopsis. I'm going to go ahead and get into my review of Logan. So currently, music, it was a very kind of bland music choices here and there.
I think it was kind of strange too.
Yeah.
Like right at the very end, you get to the point where you get that last scene of the movie, they're walking away from the grave, and there's Johnny Cash.
Yeah, there's
nothing says somebody died like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, there's some good choices. Like, I do enjoy myself some Johnny Cash. However, I feel like it's not very memorable. Mm-hmm. So the music score was okay. The characters were very interesting to see Professor X like that, to see him like really degraded and mentally ill, because he is, after all, human. Even though he's a psychic, age will do that to a psychic, or even just someone who has that amount of power, given the X-Men universe. It's really interesting to see Logan losing his abilities on screen. Typically, we've only seen that on or in the comics. His, spoiler alert, daughter, or surrogate daughter, he didn't have any sex with anyone, but
she's a test tube baby.
Yeah, test tube baby. It was a very interesting character. I love the fact that the little girl knew like Spanish, and she was like, a lot of her lines were in Spanish, and there were some very powerful scenes near the end of the movie that I really, really enjoyed. The plot, I thought was pretty solid. It had some pretty strong conflict. I'm not a huge fan of the villains. I just feel like they're kind of a vehicle for the character development. I felt like there should have been a more imposing villain. Maybe not too imposing to detract from Logan and the Wolverine story arc, and even the story arc of taking care of a very sick Professor X and living a life of misery and that kind of thing. So I did enjoy the plot. I felt, however, that the villain could have used some work. Beginning, middle, end was great. The end was very sad. I almost cried. Not really. I got a little teary, though. That's for sure. It was very, very sad. That's about the tail end of my review. Now, this is the section where, would I recommend it to a friend? Yeah, I would recommend it to a friend. I would definitely maybe wait till it's on DVD or Blu-ray. Seeing it opening weekend like we did it was good, and the screen was awesome, and there was like the surround sound was great, but I don't think it was necessarily worth the $11 cost to get in. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the reviewing baton to Andrew.
I feel so burdened by this already.
Yeah, I'm burdened. All right.
This is difficult for me. I don't do like this kind of thing well, but we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah.
Music, yeah, I think definitely could have used a better choice. I think there are points where they didn't have any music going at all, where they definitely could have had it.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have played Johnny Cash during the credits. It just seems like that was a really strange change of mood, and no ending scene, which, despite the fact that it is a Fox movie, it still disappointed me a little bit, because it would have been cool to see, like, here's a chance that there's at least a clone of Wolverine coming back,
Yeah.
I think it was good, though, that they decided to pick a good character like X-23 to really make a very serious impression on the movie, because in some different alternate versions of the Marvel Universe, X-23 played a pretty important role in most of those different storylines. In this one, she is Wolverine's surrogate daughter, whereas normally she there was actually, in some alternate universes, there was not one but 4 X-23s. As a matter of fact, did you guys remember watching Wolverine and the X-Men on Nicktoons back when we were like little kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, like in those 4 girls that was X-23. Every single one of them was. And while this was definitely different, I don't know, I feel like this is definitely Marvel's or Fox's little spin on this. I don't appreciate the fact that Wolverine himself got picked off that easily, I guess. It seems like that would have been a pretty, whether or not he was dying or not, I feel like even in all of his pride, he finally has some sense of purpose towards the end of the movie, and he probably should have tried a little bit harder to not be that reckless, as it were. He drained himself out too quickly, and I just feel like that could have been done a little bit better. I will say, this was a pretty decent movie, and it definitely sets up, considering how with the major characters that were taken out of the story at that point, it sets it up for a new generation of Marvel movies with these kids who are probably going to grow up similar to how people like Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint grew up doing Harry Potter, and now they're off doing their own thing. We might see something play out from all this. These kids did not really get that much screen time to show what they're capable of, except for Laura herself. Maybe we'll see something in the future. And I think at that point, I'm going to pass this off to Patrick to see what he has to say about this, because he hasn't been silent the whole time.
Would you recommend it to a friend?
Absolutely, I would. Just not in theater.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like the first time I've ever done this, and usually how I review things is it's good or it's not, and no further descriptions necessary. And usually I like almost most movies, with very few exceptions. However, I'll try my best. Stay with me. As far as the music go, I have to disagree with the Johnny Cash, unfortunately.
It didn't fit the mood.
That particular song, I know for a fact, actually would resemble the movie quite well. Wolverine is decrepit. He's losing his edge. He's essentially not at his peak, and he doesn't like that. He's also pretty much fucking shit up everywhere he goes at this point. Which, the song that played, spoiler alert, is... Will that be counted as a spoiler?
No, yeah. Spoil away. I mean,
right,
already
sure.
given a warning.
Alright, whatever. Spoiler alert. I don't care. Anyways, the song they played at the end is, The Man Comes to Town. At least that's the title, I think it is.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's about a guy who comes to town, takes down names, and then, I don't know if it's him or someone else, is basically going around killing them because they have done wrong and sinned. At last I checked, Logan has been nothing but a killing machine since birth at this point.
Yeah.
Well, with the exception of, a few years after birth. But I digress. He's killed a lot of people, and he feels he deserves to die.
Yeah.
So, in sense, yes, technically, that is an appropriate song. Now, crap, I forgot for the rest of it. Okay. As far as story development goes, it actually did progress exactly as expected. And while Wolverine, again, didn't necessarily step into the hero role as quickly as we would have hoped, that might have actually changed up the story dynamic as it was. It was pretty persistent going in, and I felt it ended pretty persistently as well. While, yes, I am sadly disappointed that they didn't have something at the end to show, hey, maybe these kids actually did survive or something else. Again, I'm not completely disappointed, though, because it is Fox. They don't like to reveal stuff like that. God, I am just all over the place. I think what they did with the X-Gen 28, whatever
24?
it was. 24? X-23?
Yeah. Well, 24
was the...
24 is the clone,
24
and
is the
23
clone.
is the girl.
What they did with X-23, I thought, was actually pretty cool, especially since we had already seen one, actually, already. If you count X-Men number 2, in which he actually fought her and basically kicked her ass. Well, she was kicking his ass most of the time, too, but eventually kills her. Whereas in this...
Chick with the claws.
Yeah, the chick with the claws.
And
that was one of the...
It was one of the X weapons.
It was one of the X weapons, not exactly a clone of Wolverine. She has her own backstory.
Yeah.
Forget the character. I'm not going to go into it because this is going to be taking forever at this point. But essentially, shit. what they did with her was impressive nonetheless.
Oh, for
considering
sure.
it was a kid. It mixes a whole lot of things up. As to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't usually a kid. Like he said before, it's usually adults who are doing the ones that are the kick-assery and whatnot, and usually there are two others, but, you know, time constraints, child, and they only needed one at this point, is what I felt.
Okay.
It was interesting. Would I recommend it? I would. Not in theaters. Maybe wait till it comes on Netflix if we're being a little stingy. But it was actually a good movie. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty good.
Okay. That was great. You did a great job there, Pat.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you did. It was very...
You had him concerned for a minute there.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, one of my favorite things about the movie was how freaking brutal the action scenes were. Like, this was a Wolverine movie. Like, immediately off the bat, like, you're like, I twinge a little bit and, like, just pinch up and tense up from all the like, that dude getting sliced in the freaking head by his claw, you know, or the little girl slicing that dude's femoral artery and then climbing up the one of the soldier guys with her claws. It's just like, Jesus Christ.
I can't tell you how many times I flinched in that movie just because, like, that looks painful.
Dude!
I think it might have actually something to do with also superhero movies are generally nowadays centered towards kids. You don't really see a whole lot of the blood and the gore. But let's face it, if you were actually attacked by, say, Iron Man, for instance, I'm pretty sure there would be considerable amounts of blood, maybe a couple burn damage, and yes, your face would probably explode by punch. Unless you're Thanos, in which case you just take it like a boss.
Yeah, it was such a unique and fresh approach to the hero movie, because all the hero movies we've seen thus far from the Marvel side of things, and even I think from Sony, have been a very formulaic pacing and like great movies, good movies, but it's just very same. With Logan, I feel like it completely did something different. I mean, again, a lot of these superhero movies, I wish they had better scores. I also liked, I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash, so I enjoyed the Johnny Cash selection in the score, but I didn't feel like it meshed well with the other stuff that they included. I felt like if they went with that sort of old cowboy, like, kind of feel that they had, like a man's coming into town and he's gonna get his justice done kind of deal, from the very get-go. I mean, even starting in El Paso and in New Mexico, those are very, like, Western frontier, old Western movie styled scenes, very picturesque in that way. So I feel like that would have been really cool.
He actually was generally much like an actual Western hero. Maybe not the ideal one you want to show your kids to, but like, let's say, his name's like literally on the tip of my tongue.
Wyatt Earp or Bill Hitchcock.
No. Damn. Almost have it.
Clint Eastwood?
Yes, that.
There you
He's
go.
very much like a Clint Eastwood hero in the sense that he's not necessarily there to do good, but if he does do good, okay, bonus, whatever.
Okay. That's
Kinda
cool.
like an anti-hero with no name.
Pretty
That's
much.
the deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, do you have a particular favorite moment, Andrew, of the movie?
I don't
Like
know.
a good action scene, or
I like the part where it ended.
fuck you.
All right.
No,
Piece
but
of
seriously, I think if I could pick a favorite moment, it has to have been I don't know, that one scene in the woods, like right before it gets like where Laura and him are fighting right behind each other. And it just felt like
yeah.
like they finally hit that part where you've been
That
waiting for
synergy.
that synergy you've been waiting for since like the start of the movie. when they got
Father-daughter
introduced.
synergy.
Do you need help?
Yes.
What do you need help getting to?
The root beer.
We need
Yeah.
a beer.
Yeah, but
Shut
that was
up.
so
It's not beer.
that Laura's actress or actor, whatever you want to say, she did a phenomenal job. She's like what, 12, 11,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
younger.
Something
Like
that, yeah.
she has it. She has a future. Like if she needs to nail a few more gigs, honestly. Like she did such a phenomenal job showing the visceral anger of being like that monster kind of thing. Like, you know, you were bred to be a weapon, and you were given Wolverine's anger and hatred almost genetically, and she just near the end, it was definitely the most had the most emotion packed moments in it, and just that scene where she just jumps over Wolverine's back after he just kills 2 dudes was probably also my favorite action scene.
All we need now to really make this like a perfect movie is to take the movie we have now and then it and Interstellar need to have a love child. Completely cut all of the confusion and the plot from Interstellar, the things that don't matter, and just look at like the amazing like score that the producer gave that.
Yeah.
Didn't Hans Zimmer do that?
I don't know.
That's a good. I'm gonna look this up. My computer's right here.
What about while Andrew's doing that? What about you, Patrick? What was your favorite moment in Logan?
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, sure enough.
He is a genius in everything he does. He was the guy that did the original Star Wars soundtrack too.
Yeah, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the job for most scores is to go unnoticed. It just adds a certain tensity to it.
But sometimes in that movie, the tensity is all it's missing.
Exactly, and honestly, Logan had that emotional. Like, I felt drained after a scene, like when after helping, like when Professor X and Logan and Laura helped out that family, and the family invited them back to dinner, and they had like a Southern type dinner, and they were taking or Midwestern type dinner.
Southern.
It had a feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very homely, American family, and they all died. They all died.
They didn't get touched on at all. It's like, oh, they're dead. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's true, but it's just it was a really sad moment for Logan, and I guess even when the professor got stabbed in the chest by the X-24, at that point, I imagine he realized what their presence was to that family. So, favorite moment, Patrick?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna cut me off again, or?
Sorry. No, sorry. Fuck you. Give me your favorite moment.
Well, wait, sorry. I apologize. That was the wrong comment. It was, in fact, forget it at this point. I don't care anymore. Really just the fight scenes in general, because, as you said, it did change things up for me a little, and yeah, they were really gory, all things considered. Yeah. It wasn't 100% as original as we would have wanted, though, because we did sort of already see something out of a Fox film, actually, believe it or not. Something like that, not quite centered around that. That was a lot of blood, all things considered. Deadpool, actually, I felt was the first one that truly did the most violence out of them.
Yeah, this is a rated R film.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
You did? Oh.
No, I just thought it was like, I mean, this is a lot of gore for PG-13, but whatever. I guess I was just so used to them catering to PG-13 demographic.
Yeah, not that that's bad or anything. It just means
Fox is really starting to broaden its horizons a little bit.
Yeah,
start focusing less on children's stuff. Because when they started with Deadpool, we kind of should have seen that sort of thing coming from them.
They saw the success that a rated R superhero movie, could have. I guess maybe not with all superheroes. Like, I don't expect like a Superman rated R movie. Like, that'd be weird.
Gods, no, that would be horrific.
Yeah, it would be awful. But like Aquaman or Wonder Woman or those could be pretty good. Batman would be good as a rated R movie. Wolverine is an amazing rated R movie.
No, there would have been some blood.
Like, you could really get visceral and gritty with the martial arts aspect of Batman, or like Wonder Woman's lasso or sword or bracers. Like, you get bone crushingly tense with those action scenes. And I feel like Logan showed all of us, because it's getting a whole bunch of critical acclaim. IMDb 8.6 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes 92%, Google users 95%. This is a really critical, this is kind of basically Deadpool levels of
Let's see what Deadpool's score was. I didn't check.
Yeah, this is great. That's so good. Oh, man. So you just enjoyed all of the action scenes, man? Like, it's hard to pick one, to be perfectly honest.
Actually, it did better than Deadpool. Deadpool got an 84 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, okay. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That is...
Well...
It's hard not to like Hugh Jackman.
Very, very hard to not to like him, but it's hard to choose. Literally just one. Every single one of them had their own different unique styles. Like the first fight, he didn't want to fight, and then the guys literally just would not give up. I mean, the guy literally took buckshot to the chest. Usually, you stop at that point.
Yeah,
but these guys just had a death wish, in my opinion. The second fight. Crap, I forgot the second fight already. That's pretty bad.
I think it was at the Logan's compound.
Logan's compound.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just trying to get out of there. The kid wouldn't let him. And then he realized...
That was kind of the moment where everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is like a terrifying little... where she threw somebody's head at this guy.
Dude, I was like,
no
that's
remorse.
fucked up. Is this a PG-13? Like, this is the thought process in my brain as we were watching this. I'm like,
the minute I
PG-13.
knew that we were in for true fuck-diggery, in my opinion. I will use that word.
I like that word.
Fuck-diggery. Was when she was just eating her cereal, looking at the camera, knowing they're coming in and doing nothing. Just sitting there, looking at the screen. Then they walk up, pull the things off, and she's just staring them down. Not choosing to run away. That's when I knew we are dealing with a psychopath.
Yeah. She was waiting for the moment. She knows she's going to be underestimated because she's a kid. If you're a war vet that has a robotic arm and is now like a freelance mercenary, you're used to killing child soldiers, I'd imagine. So shooting a kid like this shouldn't be too much of a problem for you.
Well,
but
I actually have a question about that. Almost every single one of them had a robotic hand, and it was always on their right hand. My question is, why?
I think sometimes it was just like armor plating, like a gauntlet kind of thing. And other times it was a robotic arm. A lot of the world's right-handed, so if they've suffered some type of like accident, or they grab a grenade and try to throw it and it blows up in their hand, or something like that. I guess it's assumed that these mercenaries are right-handed typically. And at some point, they've lost their arms and legs.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But here's my question, though. If it was like an actual gauntlet, say that they didn't lose their arm, it was an actual gauntlet.
It was just a bit of armor for them to protect themselves.
Yes, but you said the right hand, right?
Yeah.
I don't know very many people who have the capacity to hold their right hand up across their chest and still be able to fire at the person directly in front of them. In case of, stabbings. I'm sorry. I'm picky. I like fight scenes. I'm focused on them. I don't know.
No, that's fine. That's an observation to be made. It's an interesting one. There's only so much mental gymnastics you can make before the the immersion of the film is dismissed, or you become unimmersed. So I can accept that. I feel like maybe even they were wearing that type of armor so they could defend themselves. They could bring up their rifle to block a claw and then shove her back down and then start shooting again. That would probably be the most feasible tactical thing that those mercs did or could do. I thought the CG for Donald's hand, in the robotics and all that cool stuff, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Not exactly. Well, I actually expected that would be pretty top notch, all things considered. Because in Fury Road, I imagine the actress who was for Fury Road did not necessarily have that specific prosthetic in use. I don't know. I haven't done any background. I probably should have done that before I even spoke up about it. But
that's fine.
I also know for a fact that was also very CGI.
Yeah.
It was well done CGI.
Yeah.
You wouldn't doubt it was a possibility, but if you knew how far the technology was, you would know it wasn't.
Yeah, the year is 2029 or 2030 in this period, so I would imagine or hope that we have robotic arms and legs at that point.
Are you kidding? I would be the first in line for that upgrade.
Yeah.
I would totally.
Who wouldn't?
Especially if it turns into a laser.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Any final thoughts, Andrew, before we wrap up?
I'm just reading up on Donald Pierce and wondering, like, did he really get enough of representation in that?
Yeah, that's true. And also, it was weird because it was Xander Pierce and Donald something. So I think they didn't even really get they didn't really give him. They didn't really. I just didn't really like the villain in this film. Would it detract from the character development and all this other stuff going on in the movie if they had a better villain? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
I feel like a lot of people in this could have gotten a much better representation than they did.
Yeah, I still really enjoyed the film.
Yeah, Donald Pierce was actually he was a mutant and he was on the or at least
he was on the X Project.
He was on the X Project. He was actually in the Phoenix Force.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the people that actually helped capture Jean Grey.
Oh.
And try to abuse her powers along with Harry Leland and other people.
Because it was Xander Pierce and Donald those were the two bad guys. So I'm assuming they got Donald Pierce as an homage to that character, but I could be mistaken.
Actually, it was Xander Rice.
Xander Rice?
Xander Rice and Donald Pierce.
Okay. Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, Xander Rice was the guy that was controlling X-24.
Yeah.
And then Donald Pierce was the guy with the prosthetic
the son of the guy who was in charge of the X Project.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Guy who somehow.
It's a good movie, guys. You guys should go see it. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Making the Rounds. And I hope if you did enjoy watching this or listening to us talk about Logan, leave a like, and if you have another thing that you'd like us to review or talk about, leave a comment and we'll talk about it. I have no problem with doing that, especially with these fine gentlemen, or just anyone from or anyone from the forum thread. Thank you guys so much, and catch you on the flip side. Bye.